Hi, beloved. Thank you for joining us again. In the book of Psalm 119, verse 105 said, "The word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." The message you're about to listen to is filled with light and life. Stay connected and God bless you.
Talking about Moses, Moses was a man that was trained in the palace of Pharaoh. He was picked from the water, as we all know the popular story, when a Pharaoh that did not know Joseph came into being and ordered that all the male children to be killed in the Nile. And then when the daughter of Pharaoh picked Moses up, he was trained, well, not exactly verbatim in scriptures, but we know from extracurricular biblical sources, we know much that Moses was trained in the way of the Egyptians to become a priest in the palace of Pharaoh. But the beautiful thing about Moses is that he is one person that is open to learn. We could see how that he had passion for his people and defended an Israelite. And even after they rejected him, he ran away to Midian, where he married the daughter of Jethro, Zipporah, and he was working for his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, Jethro. And when God encountered him at the burning bush, he was so humble to learn, to the point that he didn't bother. He was willing to ask his questions, no matter how funny they were. And he was sincere to the point that he told God that he was slow of speech. In modern day, we will call it a stammerer. And God told him that his brother Aaron will go with him to Pharaoh. And by the time he demanded a name that will be represented in the palace of Pharaoh, he knew who Pharaoh was. So he knew that if he goes there as Moses, he was equally a dead man. But in his humility, he accepted the fact that he could not go there alone, but yet he represented God fully. And even when God used him powerfully in the palace and he brought to shame Pharaoh and his priests and his magicians and all his soothsayers in the palace, he was still humble to the point that he stayed faithful to the program of God. He was so patient with the Israelites that even when God wanted to destroy them in the wilderness, Moses stood in place for them and pleaded on their behalf. Even though he suffered from an ancestral cause of anger that Jacob placed upon them, and it cost him the promised land, yet he was humble and he was meek. A portion of his anointing was placed on just 70 people, and 2 others were passing by. And yet when it fell upon them, they prophesied from morning till night. Yet that was a complete grace that was on Moses, yet he remained humble. He was so good to a point that God could not even allow his body to remain on the earth. He was so humble, and he was so much so a great vessel that even the devil wanted to make use of the body of Moses. Moses was a man of excellence. He was a man of strength and agility. He was a man whose desire was to see that God took his people to the promised land. He was one person that ensured that even at his transition, he transferred his honor and his anointing successfully to Joshua. And we saw how that Joshua did not fail as a mentee of Moses, meaning that Moses was a successful mentor. We saw how that Moses coordinated the building of the Ark of the Covenant, and we saw how that he ensured that even when men like Balaam wanted to bring a curse to the people of Israel, we saw how that through the wisdom that God gave Moses and through the formation that the Israelites had in the Bible, we saw how that Moses was one person that ensured that the things that God told these people to do was done. We also saw how that Moses was a man that was a worthy channel through which God reached the Israelites when he took their complaints to God and he brought the solutions of God to men. We saw how that he didn't fail in his responsibilities, and I can dare to say that Moses was a successful prophet, he was a successful leader, and he was a successful mentor, both to the people of Israelites and even to our modern day believers.